Hello and welcome to the Sewing Whisperer and another episode in the Essential Seams playlist. In this beginner-friendly tutorial, you'll learn how to sew gathers two ways, flat and circular. If it's your first time here, don't forget to check out the other seam tutorials in this series. Each one builds your skills step by step, whether you're brand new to sewing or just brushing up. Want to sew along with me? There's a free downloadable pattern linked in the description below. Hi and welcome. If you're just starting your sewing journey, you're in the right place. I've spent over 30 years in the fashion industry teaching people to sew, and every one of them has been able to sew with confidence. In this series, I'll walk you through the essential seams you need to know step by step. Let's get started. I'm demonstrating these seams on an industrial machine, but don't worry, everything I show can be sewn on any domestic sewing machine because it's the technique that matters most, not the machine. What are gathers? Gathers are made by attaching a longer piece of fabric to a shorter edge on a garment, creating soft ripple volume. Let's look at a few examples from my wardrobe. This blouse has gathered panels around the upper bodice, creating an interesting design detail. The second blouse features a ruffle inserted into the neckline. The third is a sneak peek at the Sewing Whisperer's sleeveless top, our grand finale project for this series. It combines many techniques from this playlist, but today, take note of the gathered frill along the hem. Check out my previous video listed in the description below that shows how to use the different feet that can be used on your machine, and in this case the gathering foot to sew ruffles. It's perfect for ruffles, and I used it to produce the ruffles on this dress. But this foot is not suitable for gathering specific sections of a garment, such as my broderie anglaise blouse that has a gathered section of the sleeve into the top sleeve and the bottom of the sleeve into the cuff. Gathers add fullness and softness, and the amount of fullness depends on the fabric weight. Let me show you two samples. The one on the right is gathered at 1.5 times the fullness. The frill is 1.5 times longer than the main piece. The one on the left is gathered at 2 times the fullness, double the length. Lightweight fabrics can handle more gathers, while heavier ones need less. Let's start by sewing the flat frill sample. First of all, cut your sample and mark the center notch. Set your machine to its longest stitch length. Before you start, let's do a test to see which thread pulls more easily, the top or bobbin thread, on a scrap of fabric. Cut out a rectangle. I use different coloured threads for this demo. Be sure to have about 10 centimetres or 4 inches of thread pulled out to use for the pulling of the gathers. Don't back tack at the start or finish. Sew a row on one edge of the fabric using a 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. When you finish the gather row, pull a decent length of thread and cut to leave 10 centimetres or 4 inches of thread to use for pulling up the gathers. Repeat for the other edge of the fabric. Now pull the top thread, in my case the blue thread, and feel how easy or hard it is to gather. Repeat and pull the bobbin thread on the other side, in my case the red thread, and compare which felt easier to pull. Mine were both similar, but the bobbin thread pulled slightly more easily. I'll refer to this as the pull thread for the rest of the tutorial. Now we'll sew 2 rows of gathering stitches on the edge with the notch, ensuring the pull thread is on the wrong side of the fabric. In my case that means I sew with the right side up, so the red bobbin thread is on the wrong side. Sew 1 row at 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch. Sew the second row halfway between the first row and the raw edge. Pin the frill to the main piece, matching centre notches and ends. I always pin before pulling up the gathers. This helps with even distribution of the gathers. Wind one end of the thread around a pin to secure. The threads can be knotted, but it's quicker to wind them around a pin, plus you can access them at a later stage if need be. Always pull the threads that are on the wrong side because it helps to control the gathers for the next step of joining the gathers to the non-gathered panel. Pull the threads across the fabric. Then secure the other end to a pin. Spread the gathers evenly. Reset your stitch length back to the standard stitch length, in my case back to 3. Stitch the seam just a whisker to the left of the first gathering line. This saves you needing to unpick the gather stitches later. Press the main section, but don't press the gathers. Leaving them fluffy keeps the texture soft and full. And that's it, flat frill completed. Now let's try a circular frill. Firstly, print and join the pattern pieces, then cut them out. Next, cut and mark the fabric, making sure you cut 2 of each piece and mark the notches. Join the main pieces at the sides, creating a circle, and repeat for the frill. It's optional to neaten these seams. It's only a sample, so it's not really necessary. Now that you've got them in a circle, set your stitch length to the longest setting. Sew 2 rows of gathering stitches along the edges with the notches, keeping the pulling thread on the wrong side. 1 on the 1 centimetre or 3/8 of an inch line, and another halfway to the edge. Pin the frill to the circular main piece, matching the centre notches and the seams. Working with the circle means you can pull half from one end of the threads and the other half from the second set of threads. Start with one set of threads and pull up gathers to the opposite seam. Secure the threads around the pin. Now pull the second set of threads to gather the second half of the circle and finishing by securing those threads around the same pin. Distribute the gathers evenly around the circle. Reset your stitch length. Stitch just left of the first gathering line. Press carefully. A sleeve board can help when pressing around the circle. Don't press the gathers themselves. And that's it, circular frill completed. Well done, you've just added gathers to your sewing toolkit, a beautiful and practical skill for garment construction. Up next we're learning easing, a trickier skill but so rewarding once mastered. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. And let me know in the comments, where have you spotted gathers in your wardrobe? If you're following the Full Essential Seams playlist, I'll see you in the next one.